Hey everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. This episode, we're going to be studying a piece by the established digital artist on a SurrealSerpentine. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about visual rhythm. We're also going to explore what it means to be stuck in a loop. So let's jump right into it. So when I first see this work, you're struck by this immense flood of deep blue, accented only by a lone red here. Your first impression may be one of shock or even anxiety due to the strange sight before us here. Another thing you may notice is the impact of color, right? We talked about that flood of that deep blue. And aside from that, we have this red within that. Of course, those are going to be a complementary color scheme of red and blue. The only way in which they complement one another is to contrast each other. So of course, red and blue are going to be fighting for the viewer's attention within this canvas. That of course draws the eye to our lone subject here, so you're not going to miss it without a doubt. Another thing you may notice is the impact of texture. We see this quite clearly from the rather rougher wall to the kind of muscular individual structure of our subject here, all of which of course immerse us quite masterfully within a resounding sense of realism within the work at hand. And so this piece is quite strange, right? It's hard to say where exactly we are. It's almost reminiscent of curtains in a way. We have this kind of cloth-like form and even a spotlight, if you will, although like I said, it's hard to say for sure. But there's no doubt that there's incredible scale to the composition at hand. It is already quite tall, but when we're given the reference of a single subject, you can imagine just how large this room is. This of course dwarfs the viewer and kind of prepares us for the monumental sight of this piece at hand. And so we see this lone subject here who appears to be repeating endlessly beyond our line of sight here. It's just over and over again. One thing you may notice is the impact of visual rhythm. We see this quite clearly, right? It is pretty much orderly all the way down, although the symbolism of this work is anything but ordered. This subject appears to be in a posture of extreme anxiety, extreme grief, and of course, maybe even suffering in a way as well, though it's hard to say for sure. The eyes are drawn, of course, to this incredible muscular structure of each individual form of this repeating subject. There's really no doubt that it gives this very anxious aesthetic, which is always going to catch the eye without doubt. Of course, the presence of these like raw and exposed muscles, they feel incredibly visceral in nature, really prepares us for the negative scene at hand here. And so the title of this work is Stuck in a Loop, and that's quite fitting, right? We see the subject obviously stuck in some way or another, and then of course looped endlessly one after another. You can draw so many different metaphors here, from being stuck in old habits to the kind of interplay of memories or even history repeating itself over and over again. There's no doubt that our subject is in a state of anxiety or grief in some way or another. So when we look at this work, of course, the impact of the repeating kind of stuck in the loop, whether it's old habits, old memories, etc., it's definitely taking a toll on our lone subject here. There's no doubt about that. But with that, of course, if you really acknowledge and realize that you're stuck in a loop, comes the potential for a breakthrough, for you to break that loop as well. So with this in mind, I want you guys to ask yourself, are you stuck in a loop in some way or another? Do you feel like you're just being repeated over and over again? It's a pretty interesting question you may ask. There's no doubt that this is a very anxious aesthetic. We talked about that already. But such a dark display as this is not meant to make you feel good. It's really meant to awaken and kind of call your attention to the work at hand. So an absolutely stunning piece, and there's no doubt that it drew my eye, everything from the color red to the obvious symbolism within the work at hand. And so this is actually part of a greater series dealing with different themes, everything from, mental health to the eventual triumph over such things. So I'm going to bring in another piece real quick, see what we can learn here. Alright, so I brought another piece in here. This is actually entitled Kill Your Masters, another piece that we studied quite recently. The video of that will be going live quite shortly. And so we compared that, of course, to Stuck in a Loop, but both of these works are part of the same series. One of the things you notice right off the bat is the same color scheme across both of these, right? A complementary color scheme of red and blue are going to be contrasting each other and, of course, fighting for the viewer's attention. Another thing you may notice is the exact opposite of symbolism here. On one hand, you have a subject who is endlessly, of course, stuck in a loop by that title, and another piece where you see this triumph, this sense of determination fighting this very vague form with kind of a blade of light, although it's hard to say for sure. In both of these instances, there is no doubt that it is a very kind of deep and profound symbolism that it's dealing with. And these are both actually on the Ethereum blockchain. So if y'all want to support the original artist or check him out, it's going to be the best way to do so through those minted NFTs. So absolutely stunning, and the symbolism couldn't be more different in contrasting both these two works here. So this piece is a mixed media piece, so it involves many different mediums that it's working with, one of which I believe is Adobe Photoshop. So it's an absolutely profound piece, and there's no doubt that symbolism such as this are going to leave a lasting impression on all who stand before it. So really hope y'all enjoyed today. We talked about so many different things, from the impact of visual rhythm to the impact of a complementary kind of contrasted color scheme, everything from breaking the cycle of bad habits to being stuck in a loop, and so many different things we hit on today. I truly hope y'all enjoyed. If y'all enjoyed today's episode, go check out the original artist SurrealSerpentine, doing some amazing stuff and always creating that next work that we absolutely love to study. So I really hope y'all enjoyed today. My name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.